Hey, Slash, how you do, Buckaroos? How the heck are you? Well, you know who I am. Gabriel, you're on there early, man. I'm just getting started. How you doing, my friend? I'm not really in this, nice little cabin with the snowstorm, but, I'm trying to set a mood. Just trying to set a mood, man. Anyways, I digress. Bear with me just a hot second while I try to get this fixed here. There we go. Now we're in business. So sometimes shit happens, right? I don't know what happened to this. I can remember actually buying it. I remember being at the Meyer store and putting the 6 pack in the cart, but somewhere between there and here, it sort of got misplaced. Anyway, it just recently turned up. That's why I still have this. Well, it's the Fest beer from Columbus Brewing. Yeah, I should have gone through all the Fest beers, well, at least a month ago, if not two, but nevertheless. So I'm going to go through it now with you. It is 5.3%. I do remember liking it a lot. And Sluncia. Very nutty on the nose. It's more of that. It's not that Märzen. It's more of a Vienna style lager, even though it says Oktoberfest style lager. But I wanted to pair it with a Columbus, Ohio whiskey. Hi, good night. Good night, Gabriel. Sorry you can't stay with me, my friend. Anyway, this is from Endeavor Brewing, or Endeavor Brewing and Distilling, I should say. Endeavor Brewing and Spirits. This is their malt whiskey at 90 proof. This stuff is just incredible. Malt whiskey, our single malt whiskey, is made using a combination of Scottish whiskey malt imported from Speyside and specialty malt from Belgium. This delicate whiskey produces notes of sweet and earthy flavors. Yeah, I'm going to put a finer point on all of that, but yes, it's been very nice, very, very enjoyable whiskey. Anyway, anybody out there have any questions or comments, please feel free to put it on the screen. I can't believe I still have Fest beer left, but nevertheless, I figure we better power through her. The nose is nice though. She hasn't lost a step. I don't expect a beer like this to go bad anytime soon, but they are seasonal. Oh gosh, that's gorgeous. Nice and malty, again, very nutty. Just like me. Malty and nutty, just like me, baby. Anyway, I digress. Using my right-handed mug because you can see the pheasant if I hold it with my right hand. You can't see the pheasant if I hold it with my left hand. So it's a right-handed mug. Anyway, I digress. No, it is nice. It is put together very well. Again, more of that Vienna style Oktoberfest as opposed to a Märzen. It was very interesting. We were there in Columbus through kind of the beginning of that Oktoberfest cycle, and there's a huge German influence in that neck of the woods. So the food, I mean, it was all very enjoyable and very different. A lot of the beers I found interesting too. Everybody was doing their German beers and their Oktoberfest. Yeah, I'm after 10 here, man. I'm later than you. What are you going to bed for? This is an interesting malt whiskey because of that Speyside malt. Yes, you do get that notion, right? of a nice Scotch single malt. It's a little smoky, but then you get that honey and heather. It almost feels it feels like somewhere between a Scotch single malt, an Irish single malt, and an American single malt. And I know that's not going to make sense to a lot of people, but I feel like there's a lot of sensibilities going on in there. Well, you said good night earlier, so I thought you were going to bed. Okay. My bad. I misinterpreted the message. Wouldn't be the first time somebody says something that I took the wrong way. Anyways, I digress. I seem to embody the animal song, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Anyway, I digress. Man, if I had a nickel, my dad was a very particular way, and people usually either really liked him or they really did, and there wasn't a whole lot of middle ground. I always kind of wondered about that as a kid. Now, as an adult, I get it, you know, because I see myself in that same boat now. People either really get me or they really don't, and there's not a whole lot of middle ground. And the older I get, the less I care. I think there is too many things happening in the world today to be milk toast, right? I think there are those that are out there that want to be everybody's friend, and that's if that works for them, that's fine. But when they try to impose it on others, then I seem to have a problem. Yeah, because again, there's just too much going on in the world today to not take a side, or to not at least have convictions. When you have certain groups of people wanting to take rights away from other groups of people, well, you know, you cannot stand by and let that happen. And you can't just be for can we just agree to disagree? No, we can't, because you want to take the rights away. So although I do understand the nature somewhat of wanting to be everybody's friend and not wanting to make any enemies and not wanting to burn any bridges, I mean, I've been around too long to know that's just not possible. At some point, you've got to take a stand and stand up for what you believe in, and not everybody's going to be your friend. Damn, that's a damn fine beer, though. That's a good beer, man. Like that segue. Let's go from important to. Anyway, I do like this glass. I don't even know how long I've had this glass. I feel like I've had it forever. I think my wife found it for me. I don't know. I don't know how many years ago. My parents collected pheasants. I think she found it for me at a thrift store. Probably. Remember when you got this one? 90s?
No, you haven't had that.
Okay, because I was thinking we still had it.
6 years.
No, I've had it longer than that. That seems like I've had it. I was thinking we had it before we got back to Springfield.
So,
Anyways, feels like I've had it for a while nonetheless. Why is there always no people seeing well, you know, there is. I honestly don't care, to be honest, Gabriel. I don't. That's not why I do any of my videos. I don't care who watches what or when they watch it. There's a couple people watching now. Usually, by the time I view it on YouTube, there's a few, but I just don't care. the views and who watches me has never been of interest to me. It's just the idea of being able to say what I want to say. Hey Shane, how are you, man? I'm gonna post your comment. Good to see you. I hope you're doing all right out there. If any of you want to share what you're drinking tonight, by all means, share that with me. So back to this whiskey, yeah. So Endeavor malt whiskey, obviously, the fact that they're using Speyside malt and a rather good percentage of, if I remember right, they're channeling a Scotch single malt. But the other things I've got going here, it is a little sweeter than your typical Scotch. Almost has elements, even though the Scotch influence is the largest here. I feel like they've got a little bit of an Irish influence as well, and then of course being an American single malt, I feel like it accompanies all three. And that's one thing I love about the American single malt category, is that it can go a lot of different directions. My wife and I kind of agree when we got this mug. I know I've had it for a while. I'm sure we had it at the house before we moved here because I remember packing it.
Okay.
But we might not have had it as far back as I thought. Anyways, I digress. I do have another fest beer, so I'm going to open it for you. Since I have these to go through, I somehow forgot they were there. I don't know where they were hidden. They just turned up, man. So anyway, well, I'll grab a couple. We'll do a video and then call it an evening. At the moment, a Coke Zero. Oh no. Back to dig into some beer, maybe pour bourbon. Well, you let me know if you decide to go bourbon, Shane. You holler at me. Or what beer you decide to pop. And post Gabriel's comment there as well. Yeah, it's 10:20 here in my neck of the woods here in Missouri, Central Time. But yeah, let's talking about the American single malt category. That's what's interesting about it. And some distilleries have gone in that direction. Russell Spirits out of Lenexa, Kansas, did where they have sort of Irish roots that distillery does. So they did one version of their American single malt in New Charred Oak, and one version of their American single malt in second use bourbon barrels. So it really, even though it was an American single malt, really felt more like an Irish single malt. And that's, again, what I find interesting about the category is that Americans can take it in any direction they want, right? Scotch single malt, you've got Highland, Speyside, whatever, but it's all more or less the same animal. And again, the Japanese whiskey is the same thing, but Americans can go a whole lot of different directions. This one I have from Union Horse. I said Restless is not out of Lenexa, Kansas. Restless is out of North Kansas City. Union Horse is out of Lenexa, Kansas. Let me make sure I get that right. The Rivalist, obviously, you could tell by that color, uses New American Charred Oak. So it takes that 100% malted barley in a direction that others haven't taken it before. And I'm not sure why American single malt or why American distillers decided to take the single malt category in that direction, but it does make me wonder why others haven't before. Why they've always used, used bourbon barrels for the most part, and sometimes they've used secondary barrels. But when you put that malted barley into new American charred oak, well, it takes that whiskey in a whole other direction. Having said that, yeah, I love the vision that Endeavor had with this one. I really get it and understand what they were doing. I feel like they were paying homage to the classic Scotch single malt. And being as faithful as they possibly could be. And this whiskey is just incredible. Get the rest of that beer in there. We'll work on this whiskey here. My wife found I needed a glass when we were on vacation, and she found this glass at a thrift store up there. It looks like a Dalmore glass, but it's it's a classic Glencairn, so it works for when I pour a single malt. It works just fine, especially this particular one. That really is kind of, I feel like, without talking to the distiller, I feel like it's an homage to classic Scotch single malt whiskey. Good Lord, that is absolutely brilliant whiskey. So let me work on this beer, and hopefully Shane will grab a beer and a bourbon and get back with us anyway. Uh, uh, well, regardless of where this glass came from, of how long I've had it, I really like it because it's perfect for me anyway. I love to pour German styles in it because it feels like a classic German style mug. My mom and dad collected pheasant everything, so for a while we were doing the same thing, and we'd give stuff to them. But my wife kind of knew um, the importance, so I think that's why she found that one for me. Anyway, anyways, I digress. You do feel that nice peat smoke, but you also feel a lot of honey notes. That's why there's certain parts of this whiskey that remind me, even though you've got those big peat notes, which is obviously single malt Scotch, then I feel those little honey and heather notes that remind me of a nice, smooth, sweeter one. A single malt Irish. It almost feels like a bit of a hybrid there. Regardless of I would love to talk to the distiller about his vision, but regardless, it's just absolutely brilliant whiskey, man. It's just so gorgeous. And as far as the beer, well, Columbus Brewing has got some great stuff. And I bought mostly IPAs from, 'em, to be honest with you. But I remember picking up this 6 pack at a Meyer store there in Canal Winchester, where we're staying at the Brew Dog there. Uh, because it was during that time, so I figured I'd drink it all there. But for some reason, that the 6 pack got, I think it just got buried in the car. Then we got home. I'm not sure where it ended up until we finally unburied itself, I guess. So nevertheless, now I've got now, after having these 2 cans tonight, I've got 3 cans left. So nevertheless, here we go. And let me show you this whiskey bottle one last time here. Endeavor Brewing and Spirits malt whiskey. This one's at 90 proof. Absolute gorgeous whiskey. If you get a chance to get to Endeavor, I would recommend it. I didn't get a chance to buy the beer, but the beer I had there was a Baltic porter that was just insanely delicious. So there you go. Here's the whiskey. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and biscuits. I am also, who are you, Tom? I'm also Tom the Beer Whisperer, Beer Evangelist, prolific drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all around good guy. This beer is big, malty, and nutty, just like me. Sriracha. Oh, excuse me.